one, we make sure that you're crystal clear on what you want to accomplish in your life with your goals. And we do this through a self-assessment that really digs in there and makes sure that you know what your goals are, what you really want your goals to be, not what the world wants, not what your friends want, not even what your significant other or your children want. These have to be your goals.
Hi everybody. In today's episode we had with us Nelson Tressler. Nelson Tressler is the author of the book called The Unlucky Sperm Club. Murder, rape, extreme poverty, abuse, and being the center of the biggest trial ever to hit his small town were waiting for Nelson upon his birth. Rather than falling victim to his hardships, he used them to fuel his life purpose and turn despair into a life complete with a loving family and a multi-million-dollar business empire. Nelson Tressler is also the founder of a goal-setting and achieving app called IGotSmarter, which we talked about during the call. In today's episode, we talked about many goals-related topics, how to set right goals, the victim mindset versus the winner mindset, how failures can become learning experiences, and much more. Please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Nelson Tressler.
Welcome to the Ecom X Factor podcast, where it's all about launching and scaling your business using sales funnels, automations, and smart marketing. And now, please welcome your host, the founder of Ecom X Factor, Yaron Bin.
Hi Nelson, how are you?
I'm doing good, Ron. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining. I'm looking forward for this talk, and I'm really excited. Before we get going with a lot of questions that I wrote for myself, can you share a bit about your background and your story, which is amazing and interesting?
Yeah, sure. I have quite the origin story. My mom became pregnant with me when she was 15 years old. While she was pregnant with me, her father, who was the local trash collector in a small town in Pennsylvania, drove into the town square. There he spotted two police officers. He stuck a gun out the window and opened fire on those police officers, killing one and critically wounding another. He was eventually captured and brought to stand trial, where he was facing the death penalty for what he had done. And during my grandfather's trial, my mom got up and testified to the jury that the reason that he had shot and killed that police officer was that that police officer had raped her, and she was now pregnant with his baby, who was me. And my mom's testimony worked. The first trial ended in a hung jury. They eventually, the state took the death penalty off the table because of my mom's testimony. My grandfather was eventually found guilty and ended up serving life in prison without the possibility of parole, where he ended up spending more than 40 years behind bars, leaving behind me, my mom. My mom has 15 brothers and sisters to deal in the consequences of what he had done in this small town.
Okay, I'm kind of speechless. I didn't expect this.
Well, the story, it doesn't get any easier from there, Ron. I'm born to a 15-year-old mother. And eventually my mom meets a man, a peach of a man, who becomes my stepfather. Come to find out that he is an alcoholic, that he's very emotionally and physically abusive to me and my mom almost daily. And in quick succession, they have 4 children together. And because of the lifestyle that they're living, a lot of the basic needs of my siblings fall upon me as the oldest. Bottle feeding, diaper changing, waking up at 2 a.m. to put crying babies back to sleep. So my life is not going very well, and it's affecting a lot of different areas in my life. For example, at the end of 4th grade, I go to school, and there you get excited to see who you're going to have for 5th grade. It's the last day of school, and I look down at my report card and I see that I have straight Fs, and that I will not be going on to 5th grade, that I flunked the 4th grade. And it shouldn't have come to a surprise, because I'd probably missed 50 or 60 days of school. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't spell. The next year, the school places me into special ed to get me the help that I need. Come to find out I have dyslexia. And that's the way my life went for a while, until one day my stepfather was walking home drunk from a bar one night. Somebody else was driving home drunk from that bar, and they ended up hitting and killing him. And it was at this time, my mom has 5 small children. And no matter how she looks at her situation, there is no scenario where she's going to be able to care for us on her own. She's dropped out of school in the 8th grade. She has never worked outside the home. So losing my stepfather pretty much left her without any hope. And it's at that time that she decides that she's going to commit suicide. And fortunately, she was not successful. But when she did get out of the hospital after her suicide attempt, that's when she decided that our family was going to be split up. And that's when I went to go live with my grandmother, who's the wife of the man who shot and killed the police officer. And that's where my life kind of took a turn, because no longer am I in a home where, there's no food, the lights, don't turn on. For the first time, I don't have to worry about somebody coming home drunk and beating me or my mom. And I start to reflect upon what direction my life's going. And one day a counselor comes to our school and talks about what you need to do to get into college. And I thought at that time, if I could graduate college, the rest of my life would be perfect. And I started to kind of say, okay, I'm going to go for it. And then that voice in the back of your head tells you all the reasons you shouldn't even attempt it. And this is about in 7th grade. I'm still in special ed. I can't read, I can't write, I can't spell. Of my mom's family, she had 15 brothers and sisters. Only 2 had ever graduated from high school. None had even attended college. So it was an uphill battle, but I had nothing to lose. So I went for it. And long story short, 12 years later, after setting that goal, 4 different universities, 4 years in the Air Force, I became that first person to graduate college in my family.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
That's amazing story. It's crazy. So can you walk us through a bit about the major milestones, and how was your self-talk during these times?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard. I mean, I wasn't born being super positive. I had a lot of trials in my life. I was always that kid. I always had that last name. And I talk about a lot about this in my book, The Unlucky Sperm Club. But yeah, it wasn't easy. But I think the one thing that really helped me was that I was able to get that college degree. And what that did for me was it made me realize that I could do hard things. If I put my mind to it, I could do it. And that's when I became obsessed with goals and personal development. And I started to really use that in every area of my life. I bought all the books. I listened to all the tapes. I went to all the seminars I could afford. And I really used that to design a life that I couldn't have even imagined. As I sit here today, I've been the top salesman worldwide for a top 5 commercial real estate firm. I've started more than 10 businesses, including one of the largest privately held pet resorts in the country. And now I've started a program. I've been able to exit those other businesses, and now I'm to a point in my life on what I wanted to do. And I've started another business called IGotSmarter, Goals Elevated, to help other people realize that they're not victims of their circumstances, but products of their choices. And IGotSmarter is a goal program that helps people achieve any goal in their life by giving them all the tools, knowledge, and support that they need to finally achieve those goals.
Can you elaborate a bit about the app and what differentiates it from the other apps that are out there in the market?
Yeah, so it's IGotSmarter, all one word, and it's available on Android and Apple. But the great thing about our app is it's very simple. I think a lot of people fall short on their goals whenever it gets too complicated and it takes too much time. And as I said, I've been obsessed for 20 years, and I know what's worked and what's hasn't worked for me and for the people that I've helped achieve their goals. So we make sure that you're crystal clear on what you want to accomplish in your life with your goals. And we do this through a self-assessment that really digs in there and makes sure that you know what your goals are, what you really want your goals to be, not what the world wants, not what your friends want, not even what your significant other or your children want. These have to be your goals. So we make sure that you understand that. And then we make sure that you understand what kind of work is going to have to go into that. And so we teach that, excuse me. And then we teach you how to break those big, hairy, audacious goals down into these small bite-sized pieces. In our program, we break every goal down into what we call a 4-week sprint. And, because that urgency is there. I think one of the main problems most people have when it comes to their goals is they set annual goals. And we've just come through a year that no one could have predicted, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so a year is a long time. A lot changes, specifically last year, but a lot changes in a year, and there's never really that sense of urgency. So when you break a big goal down into a 4-week sprint, you know exactly where you need to be in 4 weeks. And there's that urgency. You have to get at it. You don't have that extra time that you always feel like I'll get to it in November or December or whatever. So we use a lot of that, but I think our secret sauce is through the app, you're able to invite what we call a success partner. And a lot of people call these accountability partners. I don't like the word accountability because you're not accountable to me and your goals. You're only accountable to yourself. But I am here to help you be successful in your goals. So I'm your success partner. But through the app, whenever I do my morning ritual, which we start every morning with a morning ritual that takes about 5 or 10 minutes, and you plan your entire day where you know exactly what you need to accomplish to achieve your goals. So if you do that, all of a sudden, me as your success partner, I get an alert that says Ron finished his morning ritual. So now I'm like, okay, if I didn't do mine, I got to get mine because Ron got his done. I can give Ron kudos. Good job, man. You got your day planned. I'm doing mine right now. Thanks. And then I plan mine. So that little bit, makes you stay focused. And maybe Ron, you had a bad day and you didn't get to your app. You didn't get to your rituals. Me as your success partner, I can kind of message you through the app and say, hey, Ron, let's get that day plan. Let's not waste a day because we know time is our most precious resource. So you always have that person that's there wanting you to succeed and striving for you and helping you stay focused.
Cool. It's a very powerful concept. Having I used to call it accountability partner, but from now on, I'll probably change it to a success partner because I like the labeling. But
there you go.
Even Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about it all the time, that unless you have an accountability partner in the gym or anywhere, you can't really succeed and you can't really push forward. So I love this concept. And I have a lot of questions, but one question regarding the first phase of the self-assessment. How can one really know if this is, and have clarity regarding what he wants and understand and make sure that he's not motivated by what society expects him to do or his wife or partner?
Yes. So, I mean, the self-assessment goes through that and talks about that. Like these can't be the world's goals. They can't be your spouse's goals. And there's some questions in the self-assessment. But first of all, we talk about gratitude in the self-assessment because what we've learned is if you're not grateful for what you have now, chances are you're not going to be grateful for what you're going to accomplish. And there's a huge difference between having an attitude of gratitude and being satisfied. We're never satisfied. We're always striving to reach our potential. So we're always working at that. But we want to enjoy the ride. We want to be happy with what we have while we're striving to have more, do more, and be more. So that's the first part of the self-assessment. Then we get into a year in review. And this is a lot that will help you know that you're working on your own goals because we talk about what was the most important thing to you last year. What was your greatest accomplishment? What were, all these things that really hone you in on what's important in your life. Because that's how you're going to know what your goals are. If the most important thing to you in your life is your relationships, well, then you're going to have relationships as one of your top goals because the goals that you're going to work on, if you want to make $1 million, maybe we all want to make $1 million, but if it's going to take away from your ability to have that great relationship or maybe the ability to be in great health, then you need to be very careful on what you're going to have to do, because you don't want to sacrifice the things that are truly important to you to get something that's less important to you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you can't have it all. You absolutely can, but you got to be very careful on what you're willing to sacrifice to get one thing. So we get that very crystal clear on what you want. And another strategy that we use at IGotSmarter is we only work on 3 goals every 4-week sprint. And that doesn't mean that you can't change that up, but it means that we're hyper focused on these 3 specific goals, because what we found is if you focus on way too many goals, if you're focusing on 5, 10, 12 goals at a time, you're really not focusing on anything. So we focus on maximum 3 goals at a time, and that helps us stay focused. And then there's other things in the self-assessment that really clarify what your purpose in life is and what you really want to accomplish. And we have that long-term thinking, like where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? And is it sitting on the beach and enjoying yourself? Well, then, okay, what can we do today to get you there in 10 years? Because what a lot of people do is they want to be there in 10 years, but they don't feel that urgency today, even though the choices that you make today are going to affect where you're going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah. So the concept of reverse engineering, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Start with
what you want to accomplish. Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned that you're choosing, most of the time you're going to choose 3 goals, and these 3 goals have to be related. Let's say they're all 3 health related, or one goal from each vertical of life: health, wealth, relationship.
Yeah, in fact, we don't tell you that they can't be related in our program. I mean, you know what your life's at, you know what you need to focus on. But what we found is you have the most success if they're in different categories of your life: health, wealth, spirituality, lifestyle, all those. I think there's 8 different categories that we focus on. We find that if you pick a goal in a different category, that you have more success. And then we also break our goals down into short-term, intermediate, and long-term. And we like to have one of our goals in each category there. Maybe a short-term goal that we can accomplish in the next 4 weeks is reaching a certain weight. And then an intermediate goal is maybe something that we want to reach in the next year, and we break that down into a 4-week sprint. And then maybe there's something that's 10 or 20 years out there that we want to accomplish. We want to work on something there too. So it's just the way our mind works. But the great thing about a 4-week sprint is we have lots of victories. We are accomplishing these goals, and our mind loves that. And the more that we do that, the more our brain becomes addicted to it. And then we really get into the groove of it.
Yeah, creating the momentum and getting some sort of gratification to keep on going. Cool. And in regards to, obviously you research this field a lot, and you have a lot of insights about goal setting. So what are the most common misconceptions in regards to goal setting? What you see often people do and you believe that is not very beneficial and effective?
Well, the first thing is they set their goals based on that annual thinking. And that's why 90% of New Year's resolutions fail within the first few months. Is things change. So that's the first thing I would, tell people to do is don't set annual goals. I mean, have big, huge goals. Absolutely. But break those goals down into a 4-week sprint. And then that urgency's there. You know where you're going to be pretty much in 4 weeks. And then at the end of those 4 weeks, like sometimes my relationship, I just sense that, you know what, I need to do a better job with my relationship with my wife. And so when that 4 weeks comes around, I'm going to make that one of my priorities, is I'm going to build that relationship. And then in 4 weeks after that, maybe we're doing well and things are going good. Now I want to maybe focus on a lifestyle goal, or maybe even a financial goal. So these goals can interrotate, and 4-week sprints allow you to do that. And when you see something going wrong, you can shift that focus. And that's what 4-week sprints do. So that would be the first thing, is to break your goals down into those 4-week sprints. The second thing is, there's so many, the second thing is how to write a goal. I mean, a lot of people write goals negatively. I want to lose 10 pounds. We're really battling our mind when we do that. And if you write a proper goal, your mind's going to figure out every way it can do to accomplish that goal. But a lot of people will say, I want to lose weight. Well, okay, you lose a pound. You've accomplished your goal, right? But that's not really what you wanted. Yeah. We teach you how to write a goal, and maybe a goal, a good weight loss goal is written like, it is March 31st. And I weigh 185 pounds. I work out 5 days a week, and I limit my intake of calories to 1,500 calories a day. Now that's my goal. And that's a lot different than I want to lose weight. Your brain knows exactly what it is. When somebody reads your goal, they should know exactly what you want to accomplish. And so we teach you how to write crystal clear goals. What else? And I think the accountability, the success partner is huge. You need to have somebody in your corner with you, somebody who's there to support you, somebody who wants you to succeed, and you're there for them. There's a magical thing when you're there to support somebody else. You're not gonna want to let them down, and they're not gonna want to let you down. And now all of a sudden, you guys are fueling each other towards your goals. And it's a magical thing.
Amazing. And is the success partner is going to be a friend of mine that I invite, or is there like a network of people that might have similar goals to me and I just choose them? Is it like a marketplace for finding buddies, or do I invite a friend of mine?
Yeah, so we actually have two programs. 6 Months to Success is an app that puts groups together. And then we rotate partners monthly, so you get a little different spin on it. And then IGotSmarter is our app to where you would pick your own partner, a friend out there. But you don't have to be working on similar goals. I mean, you're there for support. So, it might be good, like, hey, let's get together. We both want to run a marathon or whatever. That might be a good thing. But it's not necessary, because we're there to support. And sometimes it actually even works out better that you're not working on the same type of goals, because you can give that insight and support without you being caught in the trenches. And maybe you've fallen short on something, and now you feel bad telling them to do their best job.
Yeah. Can you share a bit like case studies of people who came with a big goal and used the apps and achieved their goals?
Yeah. There's a guy who came into the program. He had been in and out of work for about 6 years, very depressed, not able to, out of shape, had left his weight go, just was not in a good spot in his life. And he needed something to kind of get him going. And after 3 months, he had found his dream job. Wow. He had lost 15 pounds. He had the best relationship he's had in a long time with his wife and his children, all because he started living life with purpose. He started planning out every single day on what he wanted to accomplish. He knew exactly what was important to him, and he started going after it. He had a plan. He had a system in place, and all of a sudden he realized he could do all this if he just took little bites at it. And he's a totally different person now than he was before he got into the IGotSmarter program.
That's amazing. So cool to hear.
Yeah.
I assume it gave you a lot of fulfillment and happiness to see that people really gain a lot from using the app.
You know what? I've been in a lot of businesses. I've been in children's daycare centers. I've been in pet resorts. I've been in commercial real estate. There is nothing as satisfying as seeing somebody turn around their lives because of what you've put out there. And that's why I want to do this the rest of my life. It wakes me up every single morning with energy, knowing that this program and myself are going to make not only differences in people's lives, but differences for generations, because goals will not only change the person's life who's achieving them, they're going to change the generations to follow. You know, your kids are going to have a better life if you learn how to achieve goals and you follow through with your goals, whatever they are, whether it's your health or your wealth or your lifestyle or whatever. It's not just changing your life, it's changing the generations that are going to follow you.
It's had a compound effect, compounding.
Absolutely.
On a bit on a personal note, what about some words of cautious regarding oversetting goals and overachieving and being not mindful about life? Because for me, I used to set a lot of goals, and I was almost burned out because I wrote journal every morning and did a lot of rituals and had every minute of my day calculated. And when I wasn't progressing, I felt that I was going backwards, and I didn't play and I didn't enjoy life. I just strived to success. And I did a bodybuilding show and different stuff. And at the end of the day, sometimes you might feel yourself depleted because you're trying to achieve something, but you weren't grateful. As you mentioned, you weren't grateful for what you have. So how do you see this? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. You got to go through this with a sense of having that attitude of gratitude. But the thing is, it sounded like you were out of balance. So it sounded like maybe your lifestyle wasn't the lifestyle that you wanted, correct?
Yeah.
So that's the great thing with a 4-week sprint is when you feel that, like, okay, I'm going full steam with my financial and with my business and with putting on a show, like I'm doing all of that. But at the end of that 4 weeks, you get to take a step back and say, is this really what I want? It's not the goals. You know, it's not that progress. It's not the goals that you're accomplishing. It's that you were focused on the wrong goals or maybe for too long. So now you get that option to say, you know what? I'm going to focus on my lifestyle. I'm going to figure out how to take a Friday off a month, or maybe 2 Fridays off a month. Or, you know what? I'm going to, on the weekends, I'm going to get out of town, you know, the next 3 weekends in a row, and sit down and make that a goal and figure out how you do that and recharge your batteries. It's the same exact process of taking over the world financially as it is taking over your life and your lifestyle. You've got to focus on it. And that's what happened with you. You weren't focused on the lifestyle that you wanted to live. And because of that, it got out of whack and it wasn't what you wanted. That's what this program will help you do.
Amazing. Yeah. Now I think I understand further what is the benefits of self-assessing every single month.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. Like really understanding what, like clean paper, and you really reassess from the beginning what you want every single month. And this makes a lot of sense. And you put your ego at the door, because otherwise it's going to be kind of problematic.
Yeah, and we do that through the app. Like I said, we designed this app to where it's going to make it easy. So every month we do what's called a monthly assessment, which is one of those mini self-assessments, but it's really a lot of reflecting upon the last, 4-week sprint and making sure that you're heading in the right direction. And you're not going to go down this road for 6 months or maybe even 6 years and realize this isn't what you wanted. We're constantly, IGotSmarter is an acronym. It's there. Each one of those letters stands for something and reminds us of something that we need to be doing. And part of that is the E, we're evaluating, and then the R, we're readjusting. So you're constantly, it's like a pilot, that's flying across the world. They're really only on mark the last portion of their trip, because they're constantly being blown from one way, and they've got to evaluate, and then they got to readjust. And that's what we're doing with our lives is am I going in the right direction? Am I happy? Am I going to end up where I really want to end up? If not, let's readjust. If you are, okay, let's stay on that route. You know that you're headed in the right direction.
So can you give an example of a few questions that you find very powerful for self-assessment?
Let's see here. I mean, one, where do you see yourself in 20 years? I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about this, but what's the end game? What do you really want to accomplish? I think you need to realize that. And what's brought you the most joy in your life over the last 12 months? I think that's a telling sign is if closing a business, or selling a business and making a bunch of cash was your biggest accomplishment, then you know what makes you happy. If a vacation to Las Vegas was the best moment that you had, then you know what that is. So really just evaluating in your life and understanding what makes you happy, because we far too often get caught up in what the world sees as success, or maybe people around us, or maybe we get caught up in that horrible trap of comparing ourselves to other people, which I never suggest you do. But maybe we see somebody who bought a new car or a new boat or went on this trip, and now all of a sudden our life sucks because we didn't do something that fantastic. We can't be doing that. So there's tons of stuff in there. It will really get you to think. It will really get you to really reflect upon your life and the direction you're going.
Interesting. And you touch upon a point regarding jealousy and comparison. And how can one avoid being jealous and compare himself? Or at least
I mean, I don't know that you can absolutely do that, but I mean, this is your life. It doesn't matter what anybody else has. I mean, one thing that I've always realized, I just had this talk with my son, is there's always somebody who's going to have more than you, and there's always somebody who's going to have less than you. And if you get caught up in comparing yourself, you're either going to become super satisfied and slothful because, oh, well, geez, somebody has it worse than me, I don't have to work hard. Or you're going to be frustrated because all you keep doing is looking at what he has or what she has, and I don't have that. And then you're just going to keep chasing your tail. What you need to realize is the only person I'm competing against is that person I'm looking at in the mirror. And I'm trying to become a better version of that person each and every day. And once you become comfortable with that, that's when you start living the life and reaching your potential. And it's a liberating thing when you're not worried about what's going on outside of your control, because you can't control what anybody else does. The only thing you can control is what you can do. And that's when you really start living life with purpose.
I totally agree. And I heard a concept about jealousy, and the guy who spoke, I don't remember his name, but he said that we obviously compare ourselves to friends of ours or people, and we take only one aspect of their life in which they're doing good in, and we'd like to be like them. So if I have a rich friend, so I want his amount of money. And if I had a friend with like a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so I want his black belt to at least to be in his level. And this guy said that unless you're willing to substitute your whole life with the other person, so don't compare yourself, because you only see one aspect of your life, but you don't know, let's say the rich guy, you don't see how his relationship are going, how is his relationship with his kids. So you don't know, basically you don't know nothing. You only see what people are willing to convey. So this is that I'm thinking about a lot. I'm not willing to substitute with no one, so I shouldn't be jealous with other people in certain aspects, but I do use these people as inspirations for me to grow.
Yeah. And I think that's a great strategy. I mean, I'm not saying put your head in the sand and don't get out there and seek inspiration from other people who have achieved awesome things. I mean, I always do that, but you've got to draw the line to where you feel like your life is unsuccessful or a failure because you're not where that person is now or today. But by all means, if you see somebody that you admire in a certain category of their life, whether it be wealth or health or relationships, absolutely, strive to accomplish that in your own life, but do it for yourself. And, don't strive to have what they have. I mean, your dreams are your dreams, and they're the dreams and that you should be going after.
I totally agree. And you talk about it a lot in your book. You mentioned the book before. It's called the Unlucky Sperm Club.
Yeah.
The name is kind of unconventional, but it's a great name. And you talk a lot about the victim mindset and becoming a player and taking responsibility. So can you share a bit about what is the book about and the main takeaways in the book?
Yeah. So it's called the Unlucky Sperm Club. You are not a victim of your circumstances, but a product of your choices. And the way I came up with that title is you guys have just heard kind of my origin story, where I started from. And I had kicked around making it the Lucky Sperm Club because I feel like those circumstances actually helped me succeed because of what I had to overcome and deal with when I was a child. But yeah, I mean, I'm 100% believe that we are where we choose to be. You are exactly where you choose to be, for the most part. And if you don't like where you're at, you need to start making different choices. And I think there's so many people out there that take on that victim mindset, that the reason that I'm here is because of this person, or because of the economy, or because of my country, or what have you. And as soon as you do that, you give away all control to change things. And what my book kind of goes into is you need to take on 100% responsibility for your own success. And once you do that, once you realize that everything's your fault, then you're in control. And if you want to change it, all you have to do is change it. One of the great quotes that we use at IGotSmarter is, things only have the reason that you're willing to give them. So when something happens to you, you get to assign meaning to that. And, you can assign a horrible meaning to it, like, this is horrible, or you can dig deep and assign a good meaning. We talked a little bit about my childhood, and for the longest time, I gave that a negative meaning. It weakened me. I had to go through a lot of trials and struggles because of that. But then when I was sitting around thinking about creating this new business and writing this book, I'm like, I lived that life for a reason, and I survived, and I can inspire and motivate other people with my story. All of a sudden, just by giving those events a different meaning, it started to inspire me and motivate me. Same events, I just gave it a different meaning. And we can do that with anything that happens to us in our lives. And if we get to assign meaning, why on earth would we ever assign anything a negative meaning?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's also a Stoic concept. They talk about it a lot in Stoicism, Stoic philosophy, which was written 2,000 years ago in Greece and in Rome. That we can't control nothing. We can't control nothing besides our perception, which is exactly what you're saying. We can only control the meaning and the reason that we attribute to the facts. So it's amazing to see that the things that were relevant 2,000 years ago in Greece and Rome are still the same today. It's all about our perception and the reasoning and how we perceive life.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things out there that are just laws. They're laws of the universe. And that's why they've been around so long. And people put different spins on them and look at them from different angles. But they're laws. You get to do this. It doesn't get to change that you don't get to assign meaning to the things that happen to you in your life. It's always been that way, and it's always going to be that way.
Totally agree. Universal laws. And most of the people who do this transition, do you think it's a gradual transition, or it's like overnight? People have some sort of a traumatic experience or something very satisfying, or something like an occasion or something that changes their mindset, a book, or it's more gradual? And if it's gradual, how can one step into this mindset?
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky question, because I do believe that your life can change just like that. But the thing is I think more likely is you change the direction of your life by making one choice or a few choices. One choice can change the direction of your life. So if you want to get into, personal development and setting goals, your life's probably not going to change overnight, but the direction of your life is absolutely going to change overnight. And we do make those split decisions that are going to change and get us to where we need to be. But a lot of times it's a process after you make that decision. So I think there's so many people that get frustrated because they want that quick change. They don't want to have any of those issues anymore. They're like, bam, I want it to be, well, that's not the way life works either. But you can change the direction your life is going to go just by making those few choices. And now, in order to get to where you want to go, you just have to continue to make those choices, and eventually you'll get there. And that's kind of out of fashion, I think, right now, is people are always looking for that instant gratification. And again, that you want to talk about laws of the universe, right there you go. That you're going to reap what you sow. So you need to continue to sow. It's not going to happen overnight. Success doesn't work that way.
I agree. And I just got a friend of mine sent to me a meme which shows Jeff Bezos speaking to Warren Buffett, and he's saying to Warren, your advice is so simple. How come nobody follows your advice? So Warren answers, nobody wants to make money slowly.
Yeah.
This is exactly it. People just want the quick wins. And like you said, you reap what you sow, and it takes a lot of time to get where you want. If you have a major goal, it takes time.
Yeah. And I talk about this in one of my speeches, but like if you saw me bury $1 million in the ground, or maybe a cure for a disease that you have, if you saw me bury that 50 feet down and I buried it and put it there and I gave you the shovel, you're going to keep digging until you get it because you know that it's there, right? But if you're not 100% sure that it's there, then you might dig 5 feet and get tired and say, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go look for easy money. And you'll just start pulling up, grass or sod and looking under it and hoping that there's whatever you're looking for is under there. That's what everybody keeps doing. They work hard. They dig 5 feet, even though these are proven concepts that are going to work, but they're going to take time. They don't want to put in that time and that energy and that focus. They want to go around and just pull up sod and feel like they're going to get lucky. But that's not the way success is. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. And we need to make those choices to get successful.
I totally agree. But I have one contradicting, it's not a contradiction, but kind of a question. When do you pivot? When do you decide, okay, this is not the route, let's say a business idea? When do you decide, yes, I've invested enough time, it's not going to bring the fruits that I expected, so I should pivot now? What is the threshold? I know it's a tricky question, but about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely times you don't want to go down with the ship, right? There's some things that happen that are beyond your control, or maybe you didn't really account for when you're either starting a business or even going into a relationship. And there's things that have happened that sometimes you just have to kind of say, okay, I got to cut my losses. But for every one of those circumstances, there's probably 1,000 to where if people would have kept going, they would have made it. They would have been successful. So it's a very slippery slope, because I truly believe with enough time, enough energy, and enough focus, you can accomplish any goal in your life. But I think the secret to it is to be very deliberate before you set out on that journey, making sure that you're evaluating it, making sure that it's something that you want to do, making sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's, and making sure that this is something that you want to go after. And then I don't want people to be waiting for all the traffic lights to turn green before they start either, because, there's always these outliers and these things that people will look to procrastinate or to not take action. Again, I think those are so few and far between that I would rather go down the road a little bit and have to kind of readjust than to be sitting there waiting until all the traffic lights turn green before I started.
Yeah, I can totally relate. You learn a lot by doing. You only learn by doing. You can't
Yeah.
really just assess and assess and assess, and then you get nowhere and you procrastinate. And one thing that came to mind when you spoke is as long as you have a purpose and a vision, so making the small, as you said, adjustments and changing of strategy and pivoting isn't such a big deal because you have your North Star and you know exactly where you're going. So it's not as if you're going down with the ship. It's exactly how you perceive. If you perceive it as a small pivot, a small adjustment, it's not as if as you're going down with the ship. So it's a distinction one should make.
Yeah. And I, you know what, I have a tough time with the word failure because I don't fail. I mean, I might learn, you know, I've definitely learned a lot, and some lessons cost a lot more than other lessons, but you know, you learn. So now you know, maybe you've gone down the road a little bit on a business and now you've learned what didn't work. Still had to do that to learn that lesson. So is it really a failure? No, you're going to take a different route. You're going to take those experiences and those lessons you learned, and you're going to apply them to something else. So it's just a longer journey than you thought that included a few different stops than you didn't anticipate. So that's the way I look at everything that I do. Yeah. You know what? I didn't get to that destination I thought I was going to, but I did get to the destination that I was meant to go to.
Do you have any specific horrendous failure that comes to mind when you say about this, something that devastated you, and now in hindsight it looks like, okay, it was great that it happened?
Yeah, I mean, I owned a chain of children's learning centers, daycares that I invested in. I wasn't the operator. I just gave the money. And eventually we came to find out that our operating partner embezzled $1 million from the company. So this was during the 2008 recession. So business was horrible anyhow. So we had to go in and buy this partner out who just embezzled $1 million so we could try to save the company. And anyhow, a few years into that company, I ended up hiring a man to run one of my children's daycare centers against my gut, because men have a bullseye on them when it comes to childcare. People don't trust them, and they're not comfortable with them. But this guy was incredible. He had worked in childcare for 10 years. And one day I come home and I turn on the TV and there's my children's daycare centers on the news and a picture of this director. And under his picture, it says, child care worker accused of child molestation. Wow. And there's not anything worse than seeing that when you own a children's daycare center. And eventually, come to find out, he had not molested anybody in the daycare centers. He had molested a few friends, which was horrible. And he ended up going away in prison. But because he hadn't molested anyone in our centers, we were able to recover and learn a horrible lesson. But yeah, we were able to overcome that, and I was able to sell that business and move on. But yeah, I don't know if there's a rougher mistake than hiring a child molester to run a children's daycare center. It was horrible, and the guilt associated with it and all that was just one of the lowest times in my life for sure.
Sounds like a learning experience for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Okay. Amazing stuff, really interesting and very inspiring. I want to get going with asking a few final questions, like rapid fire questions, short questions. You can answer short or elaborate, whatever you want. What is like an app or a gadget or a software you've been using lately that really changed your life, except of IGotSmarter?
Oh, you had to throw the except. You know what? I love YouTube. I love to go on there. I love to get inspired in the morning. I love to learn on there. I kind of call it YouTube University. So that's my favorite social media. So I would suggest that that's kind of part of my morning ritual through the really cool app that I use called IGotSmarter.
Oh, for
I
sure.
threw it in there anyhow.
Awesome. You mentioned rituals, and I wanted to ask you, what are like, do you have like a daily routine that you follow strictly? Can you elaborate
Yeah.
the routine?
Yeah. So every morning I open the IGotSmarter app. I do my morning ritual. I plan out my entire day. I review my goals, and have my to-do list populated through the app, so I'm ready to go there. I work out every day, before I go to work. So I've got a routine of about 2 hours. I'm an early riser, so I like to wake up and get all that stuff done. Take care of myself. I kind of adopted the put your mask on first type of thing. So I always want to be taking care of myself so that I can take care of others.
Yeah, I like this. Put the mask on first. I didn't know this expression. It's from the
Airplane. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, awesome, great. It's a concept that I saw of Ayn Rand. She talks about nobody should sacrifice themselves for. I don't want to sacrifice myself for nobody, and I don't expect anybody to sacrifice their life to me. So it's a very important concept. But I love the put your mask first. Cool. What about your favorite books, or a book that you've except of your book?
Keep throwing these except in. Besides the Unlucky Sperm Club, probably my favorite book that I've read recently, or I like The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. That's really been good. Atomic Habits has been really good. I love books. I love reading. So I probably listen to 3 or 4 books a month. And then I love a lot of podcasts. So constantly learning. But yeah, those are 2 of the books that have really made a huge impression and gave me a different way of thinking about things.
Yeah. Which podcast do you listen to? Except of Ecommerce Factor.
Well, yeah. You know what? I've been on about 60 podcasts over the last few months. So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts that I've been on, and then the way that the host has drawn me into listening to other guests. So yeah, I've listened to a lot of them, but I more or less go towards what I want to learn. So if there's something out there like, hey, I want to focus on, how to promote your business on social media, I'll type that type of thing in. If I want to be inspired, I'll type that in. If I want to be motivated, I'll type that in, and then listen to whatever comes up there. And a lot of times I get hooked on the podcast, and then I just listen to it when a new episode gets released.
Awesome, cool stuff. And last but not least, a quote that you live by, or your favorite quote.
My favorite quote is, "You get to give meaning to everything that happens to you in your life." And I truly believe that. And that's made a huge change in my life. We talked a little bit about that. Another quote that I think would help people is, focus on appreciation instead of expectations. And that was kind of the quote that saved my marriage, because I had huge expectations for my wife that no one could have lived up to. As soon as I switched those expectations into appreciation for how good she was, it changed our relationship.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Nelson. It's been very interesting and mind-blowing, and a lot of concepts to digest and think about. And the app sounds amazing. I'm going to download it right away. Where can people find more about you, follow you on social networks, or see more of your stuff, basically?
So you can go to nelsontressler.com, and there you'll see there's a link for the app. The app is available on the app stores, both Android and Apple, or you can go to IGotSmarter.com, all one word, and find it there. The book is available everywhere books are sold. It's called The Unlucky Sperm Club. You are not a victim of your circumstances, but a product of your choices. And that's available at Amazon and Audible.
Cool. Great. Awesome. So thank you again. Very interesting. And I really appreciate your time. And it's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.